Her words were still echoing in my head when I adjusted my tie in the mirror. "You're a disgrace. Don't embarrass us." She said it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her reflection behind me looked like a stranger's, poised, perfect, rehearsed. I said nothing, just stared at the man in the mirror who'd learned to swallow humiliation in silence. The drive to the venue was quiet. Her perfume filled the car. Too sweet, too artificial. It clung to my throat like a secret. By the time we arrived, the hall was already full. Warm lights, polished laughter, people who had never failed publicly, who knew how to hide their rot behind champagne glasses and smiles. She held my arm for appearance. I felt the pressure of her fingers, the performance grip. Her father, the man of the hour, was surrounded by colleagues. His business partner stood beside him, a tall, composed man in an expensive suit, the kind of man who never looked nervous. When his eyes met mine, something flickered there. Recognition, respect, maybe regret. Then he smiled faintly and said, "Good to see you, sir." Sir. The word hung in the air like a spark, and the room, every laughing mouth, every careless hand holding a glass, fell silent. I heard the faintest tremor in her breath beside me. That's when I knew the evening was going to end differently than she'd planned. It had started weeks ago. Subtle shifts, late meetings, sudden bursts of laughter at texts she refused to explain. I'd told myself not to look too closely, not again. But detachment can only hold for so long before it turns into curiosity. One evening, I noticed her father's business partner drop her home. No goodbye kiss, no touch, but something passed between them. Something private. When I asked, she smiled with that same polished control. "Just work," she said. I believed her. Or rather, I wanted to, because belief is easier than proof. Then came the message I wasn't meant to see. A slip of her thumb, a preview on her screen. He doesn't know, does he? No name, no details, just those 6 words, and a silence that suddenly had weight. I scrolled no further. Instead, I memorized patterns, times, routes, her moods, the kind of observations you make when you're preparing to dissect a truth. The following nights were quiet. I let her think I'd lost interest. I smiled when she came home late. I poured her wine. I asked about her day. Each word she said was another thread I followed, carefully, patiently. I found her second phone first, hidden in the glove compartment. Burnt gold case, no passcode. Text threads, calls, locations, every lie neatly time-stamped. I didn't rage. I archived. I documented. I built a timeline. Her father's company, her extra work hours, his business partner, the same man who'd once shaken my hand too firmly as if to measure my grip. The pattern was almost artful. Private meetings under professional pretext, trips for project pitches. But the detail that anchored everything was a transfer. A sum deposited in her account by a shell firm owned by him. I watched it all unfold with the detached fascination of a surgeon studying an X-ray of decay. There's a point when pain loses its heat, when it becomes calculation. That's where I lived, quietly, for the next 3 weeks. The final proof came through an email. Anonymous sender, no text, just a video file. Her and him in a hotel room. No sound, just the image of her kissing him like she used to kiss me when she still believed in us. I didn't watch it twice. Once was enough to kill what was left of my denial. That night, she came home humming. I poured her a drink, placed the glass beside her, and slid my phone across the table. She pressed play. Silence filled the room like smoke. Her hands trembled. I didn't let her finish. I just said, quietly, "Don't." The video speaks clearly. No shouting, no questions, no drama. She broke before my calm did. Her words turned into apologies that meant nothing. Pleas that sounded rehearsed. I sat there, still, watching the truth unspool from her face. And for the first time in years, I felt steady. The next morning she insisted we attend the party, for appearances. I agreed. She didn't know why. Because appearance was the stage I needed. When her father's partner greeted me, "Good to see you, sir," it wasn't a slip. It was a confession wrapped in respect. He knew I'd seen it. I met his gaze, nodded once, and smiled faintly. "Likewise," I said. Her father looked between us, confused. Her face paled. The silence stretched. Someone laughed nervously, then stopped. Her father's partner shifted uncomfortably. "If you'll excuse me," he muttered, retreating. She stood frozen, her mask cracking in real time. I turned to her and said softly, just loud enough for her to hear, "Don't worry, I won't embarrass you." Then I walked out, leaving her surrounded by the same people she'd tried so hard to impress, now whispering her name like a stain. Outside, the night air felt colder than it should have. I loosened my tie and looked back through the glass wall of the hall. She was still standing there, motionless, a figure framed by the lights of her own undoing. The irony wasn't lost on me, how she'd tried to preserve her image while I quietly built the frame for its collapse. Revenge wasn't rage, it was clarity, and clarity was colder than hate. I walked to my car, started the engine. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. She'd called me a disgrace. But tonight, when her world fell quiet, I realized I wasn't the one who should have been ashamed.